Are you taking on all the clients, but not really seeing the profit you dreamed of at the end of the day? Well, today we're going to talk about another strategy, only taking on your ideal clients for profit, joy, and actually the ability to have a life. Let's do it. I'm Sandra Funk, and this is Design Sips. Cheers.
Cheers, Sandra. Excited to be here with you today.
Thanks.
So let's dive in. We asked designers to submit their questions on this topic. Jordan says, I have so many projects right now, but somehow not making as much profit as I'd like. I'm exhausted by all the client relationships and details. How do you ensure you're in the green at the end of a project?
Yes. So I like that, in the green, like in the money. So Jordan, it sounds like you're running yourself around in circles, right? We had this amazing conversation with an alumni of the Standard, and she was talking about how she was like, she'd end up on the phone with a friend of a grandmother who needs like a quilt. And she'd be running out, driving 45 minutes to this woman who really needed one tiny little thing purchased that wasn't even really a good to the trade option. And she was just doing the doing and the people pleasing and the yesing to everyone, right? Versus really understanding who your ideal client is, right? When you know that your ideal client is in these three neighborhoods, has a house value of X, maybe it's a super busy double income family with kids and a dog. That was mine, right? When they've got at least 2 kids and at least 1 dog and 2 careers, that they are going to leave you alone and let you do beautiful design work. Hello. Somehow the dog is really important because then they're really conscientious about performance fabrics and taking care of the home and like all the things. I also have 2 kids and a dog, so a lot of times your ideal client might look like you, right? But it's so crazy important to really think about the size and scope of that project. Go back to the past projects you've worked on. Do the numbers. Get your bookkeeper, accountant friend who likes number involved. Do the numbers and figure out which of your past projects were the most profitable, right? I also find that busy people are good decision makers or better decision makers than people who have too much time on their hand. For me, that's really important. Decision making, for me, makes the project go faster, more efficient. I really, really value that. So, okay, you go back to your past data, you figure out what your most profitable projects were. Then, across those most profitable projects, you look at it from a standpoint of joy. Like, yes, that one might have been the most profitable, but you never slept the whole year and a half that you were working with that crazy nutball, right? So that is not your ideal client because you need joy, you need a life, and you need profitability in your business. So when you get back there and you find the ones that brought you joy and were profitable, start to see the commonalities, start to see the threads that thread them together and build out an ideal client. Then when you are screening your potential clients and getting to know them, you'll be able to quickly see your ideal client because you've already identified them. You already know who they are. If you don't do this work, you're like, that might be a good project. They seem really nice and they've got all this time so they can meet with us right smack dab in the middle of the workday. That might be a little bit confusing if when you don't look at your past data, you don't identify who you're looking to work for. Does that make sense? Work with. Okay. Did I answer the question or am I just rambling on?
No, you totally did. She's exhausted by all the client relationships, yes. And we think...
Yeah. So the other crux of it is, generally speaking, what I have found and what hundreds of designers who I work with have found is that fewer, larger projects is often the pathway to more profitability, more joy, more time to actually have a life outside of your business because you're managing fewer relationships. And that the time it takes to set up a project, right? Go through the potential client process, sign that client, onboard them, have all the meetings throughout the design process, have all the site visits throughout construction. When we have fewer of all of those steps because we have fewer projects with more scope and more scale inside of them, we are often more profitable. I think that's what you'll find when you go back to your data, that the larger projects, fewer clients is in fact a really good pathway to profitability. That said, I have unicorns who like them quick. They love those client relationships. They have become very efficient at setting up clients. So you got to do you. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm just saying you got to let your data tell you what is giving you joy and profit. Again, I'm going to drink wine because I just keep rambling. Sorry, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. So Leanne says, well, actually, let's remind our designers if they want more of this goodness and more chat with Sandra to subscribe.
Yes, hit the button. You're here. We're having fun. Let's do this thing. Grab a drink. Let's hang out again.
Alrighty, so Leanne says, I hate to sound mean, but I feel like all of my clients are so needy. Being a yes girl is exhausting me, but I'm worried if I set boundaries that I won't get the necessary referrals.
So here's the deal with boundaries. If you set them in reaction to neediness, then it looks defensive. If you set boundaries prior to any relationship being underway, that's just good business. Got that? Did you hear that one? When we say in reaction to a client texting us on Saturday morning at 7 a.m., oh, by the way, I don't use text for business. Please email me and I will respond during the regular business hours. That comes off, I can understand feeling concerned about saying that because that boundary hasn't been set and you're setting a boundary in reaction to an action that they took that's inappropriate for you. But if you said that in the beginning before they even became your client, you would simply say, hey, message received, I'm going to move this to email and respond on Monday morning. Because you're just reminding them of a boundary you already set together. Factual, good old-fashioned regular. You're not like, unfortunately, and I'm so sorry to say, and or making them feel bad, like inappropriate to text me on Saturday morning, right? You're just factually saying, received, I'm going to move this conversation to email and I'll touch base Monday morning. Like just so clean and so clear and just no drama. But you got to set expectations before. And that's a big part of what we built into the standard and what we built into our firm is, you get those clients who are texting you at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning and you're like, how do I never have this happen again? Well, you go and you back and you set expectations. You've got another client asking for your, discount. You go back and set expectations. You've got another client asking for every single piece to be delivered as it comes in. You go back to the beginning and you set expectations. Like all of those things that come up in a design relationship that are exhausting can be mitigated if you can make sure that you set those expectations all the way back in the beginning. And then you're just factually referring back to a precedent that's already been set. Yes?
Yes, cheers.
Yes.
And I don't know if you said this, but kind of teaching them how to be amazing.
Yes. So as with almost anything, it's like your dog. Your dog wants to be a good dog. They want to please you. That's why that little sucker brings me a bone every time I come in the door. He's like, look, Mom, I got a thing. Like he's a hunter, so he thinks he has to bring you his kill, right? They want to please you. They want to show you that they're a good boy. They just need to be told what makes them a good dog, like training, right? And again, I say it all the time, set expectations and boundaries. So the clients, we are all the same way. We want to be a good friend. We want to be a good spouse. We want to be a good student. We just need to understand what are the criteria to be good at whatever it is we're trying to do. Your clients need the same thing. They need direction. What makes an amazing client to work with your firm, right? For me, an amazing client is decisive, communicative, easy to reach, open, playful, relaxed, not super uptight, works within business hours, or we've agreed that there's going to be meetings outside of business hours, but it's very clear ahead of time what that expectation is. They are respectful of my time, the fact that I have a family, my communication style and boundaries, right? Respect. Oh my gosh, everything. And then I really like appreciative people because my love language is words of affirmation. So I like when I deliver a room, someone says, this is really beautiful. It makes me feel like all that 18 months of work was worth it. So it is nice to find those people that are just naturally communicative, right? That's kind of part of what brings me joy. So you just need to figure out what makes you tick, what makes you happy, how could a client act that would fit into your business and make your career filled with joy. All the things, all the joy. And then and then make that clear to them, right? Set expectations and make it clear. When I give you a design, I want a response back within 1 week. I don't want you to go silent on me for 3 months, right? I want quick communication back and forth because we're working on this project together. I want to stay on budget and on timelines right there with you. So the more that you can really think what would work best for me, and a lot of times you're looking at what didn't work in the current client you're having or past client, and then figuring out how to say, we don't want to do that again, right? And so that's so much of it. So much of it is looking back at like those lessons you've learned.
Totally.
Yep.
Megan asks, so this is more of a getting specific on this example and this insight that you're sharing. So how do you determine your timelines? I end up dumping so much time and energy into my projects with unrealistic timelines and have very little time for myself and my family.
So I think setting timelines is so important. It's also, number one, most of us work better on a deadline for a couple of reasons. Either there's procrastination, it's possible, right? Or there's overwork. There's what's going on here, which is maybe you're iterating and designing and rethinking, and then you end up going to the market or to the design center and you see more stuff and you come back and you start making it even better, right? But when you give yourself deadlines and you commit to those deadlines with your client, you are in like production mode, right? And often, we all know this to be true, if you really go back and think about it, your first design is your best design. That's why I only offer my clients 1 round of revisions, because if we're on revision 2 and 3, you've lost my best. We are way past my best, right? So 1 round of revisions gives them the opportunity to be involved and for us to shift when we need to shimmy. But it doesn't let me get so far from the design intention that I'm no longer excited, passionate, joyful about that design. Did I answer the question, or did I go on another tangent?
No, I think that's great. Such awesome advice. And I think the example you give around when we're in the holiday season and people are like, I have a Christmas deadline, and leaving your room to do your best work. Yes.
So not only do we need deadlines from the procrastination or the overworking element, but we also need deadlines that give us the space to actually complete the design fully. So for instance, we have kind of a standard deadline for getting from measuring the space and taking all, the intake day, site documentation, to getting to our first presentation where we're doing like high level conceptual design. And then we have a similar like set amount of time to get to detailed design. We scale that up or down based on the size of the job, right? It's going to be longer if it's a huge job. It's going to be shorter if it's more of our 3-room minimum. So when we have that natural timeline, we also know, because we have such a defined process, that we can get through all that. What happens sometimes is that, again, that is crazy important to say at the beginning of the relationship, before the client brings in their ideas on timeline, right? So when I say to them, it's going to be XYZ time until this, and then XYZ time until that, and then we go into purchasing, and you can expect purchasing to take XYZ time. So I'm giving clients really good idea of just how long design takes right from the beginning, setting those expectations, and then holding my space when it comes to a client. This happens to us all the time. The construction is almost done. They know the warehouse is full of their furniture waiting for construction to be done to get in. They're down to like light fixtures and details and, hanging window treatments, but it's not done and everything's not in yet. And there's a huge punch list still. And all of a sudden I get the call, we're having a party and it's 2 weeks from now and we'd like everything done. And my response is a very polite and kind, no. We can't just like collapse time. I know you're excited. I know you want to show it off. I know it looks like we're so close, but getting every trade through, letting the dust settle and the cleaning crew come through before I deliver your gorgeous furniture is really important. That can sometimes be like a week of letting like the final dust settle, have it cleaned twice. You just have to hold your space when it comes to, when we set this timeline, this is how long it was going to take. We will always do our best to move as quickly as we can, but we are not able to accept surprise deadlines that come from the client direction after, and it is, it's hard to say no, but it's also unrealistic, and it's really unfortunate if you rush those final details and you don't get the light height rights, or the paint crew knows they only have a day, but really they really need to do one more round of touch-ups. Like, just don't rush it. It's such a long project. To get to the end and be in rush mode is never our best version of ourselves. And I think that's the language that I come back to them with. We need to get everybody back through there. We need to let the dust settle. We need to let the cleaning crew come through. We need to do our best work. These finishing details are the final thing that you see, right? They cannot be rushed. So stand in your space on that one too, setting boundaries, setting expectations, and then sticking with it.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Cheers.
Cheers to that. Especially as the holidays come, all of a sudden, we decided we're going to host because it's going to be so beautiful. No. Getting a delivery right now is crazy impossible.
Yeah, and don't be the person who says, well, maybe, and then end up being the bad guy anyways.
Yes. So we see this all the time. The maybe shuffle, we could try, but if you know deep in your heart that it's highly unlikely, then just tell them, we always are doing our best to move as fast as we can, but we cannot take on a new deadline. And then if you happen to get everything done before they have this party, great, but my answer is always no. Just no. When you'll know it when it's done, and then you can start scheduling parties,
Yeah, and you may not be the bad guy with your client, but you're going to be a bad guy with your subs and your vendors.
No, and you cannot, especially right now, you cannot be hyper spazzing out, rushing all your subs, trades, vendors, delivery guys, all of them. They have enough on their plate. This is such a crazy busy season. For us to be rushing and being demanding right now is crazy. We need to be grateful, and we need to want the highest quality version of themselves coming to the job, not the rush version.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, small gifts go a long way for clients,
yes.
vendors, trades, everyone. Too.
Yeah, definitely. We are big fans of showing our gratitude with words of affirmations and with gifts whenever we can. When you know that we're all in this crunch, it's nice to just show that appreciation in as many ways as you can. Speaking of adoring, referring clients, do you pass along your design discount to your adoring clients? I don't. Let's check it out, and I can promise you they're still just as happy as clams. Cheers.